September 27, 1942. Richmond, California. The fog over the San Francisco Bay hangs low and damp, curling like pale smoke around the cranes that tower over the Kaiser Shipyards. The ground trembles as welders hammer steel into shape, sparks raining down in glowing arcs. Somewhere in the organized chaos of this place, a 40-41-foot Liberty ship, barely a week old, is about to be launched. It isn't supposed to be possible. Shipbuilding, for centuries, has been a slow art, a laborious craft measured in months or years. But today, tens of thousands of workers have defied that timeline. They are preparing to slide a fully constructed ocean-going cargo vessel into the water after just 4 days of construction. A whistle pierces the damp morning air. Foreman Jack Red Donnelly, his face smeared with soot and welding ash, raises a gloved hand and yells over the noise. "All right, boys, she's ready!" Around him, men and women. Yes, women in hard hats and overalls, many of them housewives only months before, move with mechanical precision. Riveting crews, welders, crane operators, inspectors. It's a factory, but one that builds floating giants. The ship itself is the SS Robert E. Peary, a Liberty ship destined to carry ammunition, fuel, and supplies to Allied troops fighting across the Atlantic. Her steel plates still hold the warmth of welding torches. On her deck, American flags flutter in the bay breeze. Nearby, Henry J. Kaiser, short, round-faced, and smiling like a man who already knows he's rewriting history, steps up to a makeshift podium. He's no traditional shipbuilder. Before the war, he built roads, dams, and pipelines. But now he's taken on something far bigger. He surveys the workers with quiet pride. For weeks, the newspapers have ridiculed his claim that a ship could be built in less than a week. Even the Navy's top brass were skeptical. But Kaiser never built ships the old way. He built them like cars on an assembly line. Every piece, every beam, every panel was prefabricated somewhere else, trucked in, and welded together here like a colossal steel puzzle. A welder flips up his mask and whispers to the man beside him, "4 days, Bill. 4 damn days. Who's gonna believe us?" Bill snorts. "They'll believe it when they see it float." The loudspeakers crackle to life. A woman's voice, sharp official, announces, "All personnel clear the slipway. Prepare for launch." The massive crowd gathered at the shipyard fence holds its breath. Reporters with camera tripods lean forward. Families of the workers, wives, kids, brothers, clutch their coats in the cool wind. This is more than just a ship launch. It's a statement to Hitler, to the U-boats prowling the Atlantic, to anyone who believes America can't build fast enough. The chains are struck free. The SS Robert E. Peary lurches forward, slow at first, then gains momentum, sliding down the greased slipway like a steel leviathan waking from sleep. The crowd roars, sirens blare. The bay swallows her hull with a great splash, waves rolling out to the piers. Kaiser claps his hands once, hard as if sealing the moment into history. In just 96 hours, the impossible has been made real. And somewhere in Berlin, in a war room with a wall-sized map of the Atlantic, German naval officers will soon learn what this means. They can sink a ship today, and America can replace it before the week is out. But none of this happened by chance. The road to this moment began long before the Peary touched water, with a problem so vast it threatened the entire Allied war effort. December 1941, Washington, D.C. The war in Europe is already burning hot, and America, still months away from Normandy or Sicily, faces a brutal truth. German U-boats are slaughtering Allied shipping faster than anyone can replace it. Entire convoys are being torn apart in the frigid North Atlantic, the black waters lit up by burning tankers and shattered hulls. Every ship lost means fewer rifles in Britain, fewer tanks in North Africa, fewer bombs falling on Germany. The U.S. Merchant Marine is bleeding vessels at a pace that outstrips the nation's shipbuilding capacity. Inside a wood-paneled conference room at the Maritime Commission, a cluster of admirals, engineers, and industrialists hunch over production reports. Admiral Emery S. Land, a blunt no-nonsense man, slams the papers on the table. "We're losing 1 million tons of shipping a month," he growls. "At this rate, we'll run out of hulls before the year's up." Across from him sits Henry J. Kaiser, his suit a little rumpled, his tie crooked. He's not a Navy man. He's not even from the world of shipbuilding. But he has something none of the old guard have: a blueprint for doing things differently. "We don't have time for tradition," Kaiser says calmly. "We have time for production. Fast production." The Admiral narrows his eyes. "These are ships, Mr. Kaiser, not automobiles." Kaiser leans forward. "Why not treat them like automobiles?" The room stiffens. Shipbuilding at this point in history is a craft, done slowly, carefully, piece by piece, often by Union crews bound by decades of tradition. But Kaiser has just proposed an industrial heresy, breaking the ship down into sections, manufacturing those sections in parallel at multiple sites, and then assembling them like a giant machine. To some in the room it sounds reckless. To others brilliant. At the same time, the German Navy is ramping up Operation Paukenschlag, the second happy time, for U-boats, slipping into American coastal waters like silent predators. Tankers are exploding within sight of the eastern seaboard. Beachgoers in North Carolina watch flames rise on the horizon. The message is clear: if America cannot outbuild the wolf packs, the supply lines will snap. This is where Kaiser sees an opportunity. He proposes to build new shipyards not for traditional shipwrights, but for an army of untrained workers, many of them women and migrants, armed with welding torches instead of riveting guns. Riveting takes time and skill, welding, Kaiser argues, can be taught in weeks. But desperate times make bold ideas easier to stomach. The Maritime Commission gives him the green light to try. By the spring of 1942, a barren stretch of California waterfront begins to transform. Steel skeletons rise from the mud. Gantry cranes swing overhead. Modular components arrive by rail in numbered crates. A city within a city forms, an industrial organism designed to build Liberty ships not in months but in days. And what's more, Kaiser isn't just planning to build a few ships, he's planning to flood the Atlantic with them. Spring 1942. Richmond, California. The shipyard smells of hot steel and burning flux. The clang of hammers echoes across the bay, punctuated by the rhythmic snap and hiss of welding torches. Towering above the docks is the first skeleton of what will become the Liberty ship. A design meant to be simple, rugged, and fast to produce. Unlike the sleek hulls of naval destroyers, the Liberty ship is boxy, utilitarian, and unapologetically plain. It isn't meant to dazzle anyone. It's meant to carry 10,000 tons of cargo across an ocean that has become a killing field. In a temporary office overlooking the yard, Henry Kaiser stands with ship designer William Francis Gibbs, a tall, meticulous engineer known for his precision. They lean over blueprints tacked to a drafting table. The lines are bold, almost aggressive in their simplicity. Gibbs taps a pencil on the page. The EC2S Liberty hull. She's not elegant, but she'll float, and she'll keep floating after a hit. We can build her with pre-fab panels. Weld, not rivet. That saves us weeks. Kaiser nods. Weeks we don't have. The Liberty ship's design itself is a modified British pattern, borrowed and adapted by the U.S. Maritime Commission. It's not glamorous. Some Navy men even sneer at it as ugly ducklings, but its genius lies in its modular construction. Deckhouses, bulkheads, and engine sections are assembled off-site, then brought in like puzzle pieces. Cranes drop them into place. Welders fuse them together in record time. At the foot of slipway number 3, 19-year-old Rosie Taylor wipes sweat from her forehead with a dirty sleeve. She's one of thousands of Rosie the Riveters, except here she's a welder. A year ago she worked in a diner in Sacramento. Now, she's fusing steel on a ship that will cross the Atlantic to fight Hitler. Her instructor told her the first day, "You're not building boats. You're building victory." Beside her, older men, former mechanics, farmers, shopkeepers, work alongside young women and black laborers who migrated from the South. The Kaiser yards are among the most diverse workplaces in wartime America. The war doesn't care who builds the ships, only that they're built. By May, the Richmond yard has assembled the keel and lower hull of its first ship. What would normally take a traditional yard 200 days has been done in less than 30. No one outside Kaiser's circle believes what's happening here. The big shipbuilding companies back east whisper that it's a stunt, a flash in the pan. But Kaiser isn't building a stunt, he's building a machine. Across the country, identical designs are going up in Oregon, Maine, and along the Gulf. It's not just one yard anymore. It's an entire network of Liberty ship factories. And the German Navy has no idea what's about to hit them. As night falls, floodlights bathe the skeletal hull in harsh white light. Welders keep working. No shift change, no slowdown. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The yard hums like a steel heartbeat. A supervisor shouts over the din, "Frame 48's ready to weld." Rosie flips her visor down, strikes the torch, and the world around her disappears in a blue-white flare. She doesn't know it yet, but the ship she's helping build will outlast the war. Summer 1942. Richmond Shipyards. The heat is brutal, the kind that bakes the concrete and makes every steel plate shimmer under the California sun. But the work doesn't slow. Sparks fly like golden rain as thousands of workers turn raw steel into warships, hour after hour, shift after shift. This is where Henry Kaiser's vision truly takes shape. Unlike traditional shipyards, Richmond doesn't waste time waiting for one stage of the build to finish before the next begins. Instead, multiple sections are built simultaneously in modular sub-assembly areas scattered around the yard. At one station, the stern section is welded together like a steel block. At another, workers assemble the bridge. Cranes swing overhead, moving massive pre-fabricated pieces into place as easily as a child stacking building blocks. It's an industrial ballad, loud, hot, and perfectly timed. Foreman Jack, Red Donnelly, stalks the line with a clipboard in one hand, barking orders through a megaphone. "Keep that seam tight. We don't want leaks in the Atlantic," he shouts over the roar of the welding torches. A woman nearby lifts her mask, nods, and lays another perfect bead of molten steel. The biggest innovation here isn't the workers or the tools, it's welding itself. For centuries, ships were held together by rivets, a painstaking process that required teams of highly skilled men. But welding is fast. Welding can be taught to thousands of ordinary Americans in weeks. Welding means you can build hundreds of ships, not dozens. The Navy was skeptical at first. Welded ships, too risky. They feared cracks in cold Atlantic waters, worried the hulls might split. But Kaiser and his engineers prove them wrong. The Liberty hull isn't delicate. It's tough, flexible, and strong enough to take punishment. The yards become training grounds. Young women, many barely out of high school, learn how to control the weld puddle, how to avoid burn-through, how to work fast without sacrificing strength. Migrant laborers, men who once picked crops or worked mines, now lay down miles of weld every day. The work is dangerous. A single mistake can mean a flash burn, a falling plate, or worse. But these people are building something bigger than themselves. Every spark feels like a small strike against the axis. Up in a small office overlooking the slipways, Kaiser watches it all unfold through the window. His assistant hands him the latest production report. 2 days for the last one, the assistant says. Kaiser shakes his head. Too slow. The assistant blinks. Sir, the Navy said that's already. Kaiser cuts him off with a grin. We can do better. And they do. Day by day the assembly lines tighten. Training improves. Prefabrication expands. The numbers fall: 45 days, 30 days, 15 days. Word spreads through the shipyard like wildfire. We're building faster than anyone in the world. On the floor, Rosie Taylor finishes a weld, pulls off her mask, and wipes sweat from her brow. She can't believe how fast these ships grow. Yesterday it was just steel skeletons. Today a hull. Next week a ship ready for the Atlantic. The Liberty ships are becoming more than vessels. They're becoming symbols of industrial might. And while Kaiser's welders build, the U-boats hunt. But soon they'll be hunting in an ocean where their prey multiplies faster than they can sink it. Autumn 1942. North Atlantic. The sea is black and angry. The kind of night where the horizon vanishes and the only sound is the low rumble of engines and the icy slap of waves against steel. A Liberty ship, freshly launched from the west coast, plows through the darkness in a convoy of 50. Her name SS Nathaniel Greene. She carries ammunition, jeeps, and canned food bound for Liverpool. Below the surface, an entirely different predator lurks. Oberleutnant Franz Meyer peers through the U-boat's periscope, his breath fogging in the cramped, stale air. He whispers to his helmsman in clipped German. In Fetter Convoy Reichslich Butte. A fat convoy rich prey. A torpedo wakes the night. A column of water erupts near the convoy's edge as an escorting freighter takes the hit. Alarms wail across the Liberty ship's deck. Sailors in thick jackets rush to stations, scanning the black water for the glint of a periscope. For months, this has been the U-boat's war. A war of ambush and attrition. The Kriegsmarine knows that if they can sink more ships than the Allies can build, they can starve Britain into submission. But something has changed. The Nathaniel Greene isn't alone. She's part of a convoy system reinforced by a growing swarm of Liberty ships. Where once there were a handful of vulnerable freighters, now there are dozens, and more on the way every week. The U-boats are beginning to run out of targets they can handle. The captain of the Greene, a merchant mariner named Charles Renner, grips the cold rail and stares into the night. He knows this ship was built by hands that might never see the ocean. Hands of women, farmers, factory workers. Every crate below deck is proof of how fast America can build. Hard to starve a country. He mutters, when you can't sink ships fast enough. Back in Berlin, Admiral Karl Dönitz receives convoy reports. His staff officers lay the charts across a long table. The grim numbers speak for themselves. In the summer, U-boats could sink ships faster than they were replaced. Now, replacement tonnage outpaces destruction. The Liberty ships are everywhere. It's like trying to empty the ocean with a spoon. This isn't sustainable, an officer says quietly. Dönitz doesn't reply. He already knows. By late 1942, Kaiser's yards alone are delivering Liberty ships at a rate that stuns the world. The Atlantic is filling with convoys bristling with supplies, tanks, aircraft, and men. Allied logistics, once fragile, is now overwhelming. But Kaiser isn't satisfied with fast. He wants faster. And in September he makes a bold announcement. The Richmond Yard will attempt to break its own record, building a Liberty ship in under 5 days. September 1942, Richmond Shipyards, California. The air smells of wet salt and steel dust. Morning fog curls over the slips like a living thing. But beneath it the shipyard thrums with a pulse all its own. It isn't just another build. This is the record attempt. To assemble and launch a Liberty ship in less time than anyone has ever imagined possible. The target 4 days. Every crane operator, every welder, every rivet inspector knows what's at stake. This isn't just about proving Kaiser right. This is about sending a message across an ocean. To Berlin, to Tokyo, to every U-boat lurking beneath the waves. On the slipway sits the skeletal beginning of the SS Robert E. Peary. Her prefabricated sections already lined up like chess pieces waiting to be moved. Foreman Jack, Red Donnelly strides across the deck plates, barking over the roar of machinery. Move that midsection to Bay 2. Keep the bow hot and ready, no damn delays this time. One above him, a crane swings a massive prefabricated deckhouse through the fog. Sparks fly as welders seal seams at a pace that seems almost reckless. But this isn't chaos, it's choreography. Every movement, every weld, every bolt is part of a meticulously planned schedule broken down to the hour. Day 1. The keel is laid at dawn. By nightfall, the stern and bow are already in place. Prefabbed engine components arrive by rail just after midnight. Day 2. The hull is rising like a steel mountain. Entire modules, electrical systems, piping, bulkheads drop into place without stopping the welding teams. It's brutal, hot work. Men and women pass tools like a bucket brigade in a fire. Day 3. The ship is taking on its final form. Her deckhouse is welded shut, her boilers are fitted, her masts stand tall against the gray sky. Work lights blaze through the night like stars. Day 4. It's launch day. At dawn, a line of tired but grinning workers gathers near the slipway. Many haven't gone home since the project began. Rosie Taylor, her gloves blackened and hair tucked beneath a bandana, leans on the railing next to Red. Her eyes widen as she sees the fully assembled hull before her. "I welded that bulkhead 2 nights ago," she whispers. "And now she's ready to sail." Red smirks. "Told you this was no stunt." Henry Kaiser stands on a small wooden podium overlooking the slipway. Reporters crowd around, their cameras ready. He adjusts his hat, looks out over the sea of faces, tired, suit streaked, but glowing with pride. "I said we could do it," Kaiser says simply, "and you proved it." The blocks are struck. With a deep metallic groan, the SS Robert E. Peary slides forward. The entire yard erupts as the hull glides down the greased ways and slams into the bay with a thunderous splash. Sirens wail. Flags whip in the wind. 10,000 tons of steel and cargo capacity, built in 4 days, 15 hours and 29 minutes. October 1942, Lorient, France. Inside a damp, echoing U-boat pen, Admiral Karl de Nitz stands in silence as one of his officers reads the latest intelligence dispatch from the Reich's naval attaché in the United States. The report is brief, clinical, but the message is devastating. American shipyard launches Liberty ship in 4 days, 15 hours, 29 minutes. De Nitz doesn't say a word. The sound of dripping seawater fills the silence. Around him, the officers exchange uneasy glances. They all understand what this means. The Kriegsmarine has been waging a war of numbers. U-boats can sink ships faster than the Allies can build them. That's the equation their entire strategy depends on. But if that equation no longer holds, then Germany is in trouble. One officer clears his throat nervously. "Herr Admiral, even if we double our sinkings, we can't keep up with this rate of production." De Nitz slowly removes his cap, sets it on the table, and leans forward, his face hard as iron. "Then," he says quietly, "the Battle of the Atlantic is no longer ours to win, only to delay." Across the ocean in Washington, D.C., the mood is the exact opposite. Inside the Maritime Commission headquarters, Admiral Emery Land slaps the headline onto the table in front of his staff. "FOR, Desation Chekida." Laughter breaks out in the room. Not because it's funny, but because it's a release of months of fear, doubt, and grinding work finally paying off. "This," Land declares, "is how we drown the U-boats." In London, Churchill receives the news with delight. In a note to his naval staff he writes, "The Liberty ship is the vessel of victory." Britain, reliant on convoys for survival, now knows the tide is turning. For every freighter lost, 2 more are already under construction. The Liberty ship isn't beautiful, it isn't fast, it isn't elegant, but it's winning. Back in Richmond, the mood is electric. The workers walk past the now empty slipway where the Robert E. Peary once stood, still smelling the grease and smoke of launch day. Some clutch copies of the newspaper, others just smile. Rosie Taylor leans on a railing overlooking the bay. Red Donnelly joins her, coffee cup in hand, his boots coated in steel dust. 4 days. Rosie says softly. "Can you believe it?" Red grins. Wu made him eat their words. The record-setting launch isn't just a headline. It's a catalyst. Production at the Kaiser yards accelerates even further. Crews shave hours off weld times, perfect the modular system, and spread the lessons across shipyards nationwide. The idea isn't to break records anymore. It's to make this speed routine. By early 1943, Liberty ships are rolling off American slipways in an endless stream, sometimes 3 ships a day. The Atlantic begins to tilt. The supply convoys grow so massive, so constant, that the U-boats can no longer choke them off. The tide of war is shifting. Not with a single battle, not with a single general, but with steel welding torches, and the determination of ordinary Americans who learned to build ships faster than anyone thought possible. Spring 1943. Mid-Atlantic. The convoy stretches to the horizon. 70 Liberty ships and tankers sail in tight formation, escorted by destroyers and corvettes slicing through the gray waves. The decks glisten with morning spray. Above, a Catalina flying boat drones lazily in the overcast sky. U-boat captains used to look at convoys like this and see easy prey. Now they see something else, an impossible target. Beneath the waves, in the murk and cold, Captain Lieutenant Franz Meyer scans the convoy through his periscope. He's hunted Liberty ships before. Once they were rare. Now they're everywhere. Mass-produced hulls, identical silhouettes, a swarm of steel. Too many. He mutters in German. They've built too many. He knows the truth. Even if his torpedoes hit, even if he sinks 2 or 3, 10 more will be launched before the month is out. The Battle of the Atlantic has shifted from a duel to an industrial war of attrition. And Germany is losing. Meanwhile, in the convoy's radio rooms, the news is different. Crews read reports of record-breaking ship launches. Kaiser's yards have become legendary among merchant sailors. The Liberty ship may lack glamour, but she is reliable, easy to repair, forgiving to operate, and cheap to build. Sailors give them nicknames: ugly ducklings, Kaiser's coffins, sometimes with affection, sometimes with gallows humor. But the truth is simple: the Liberty ship is the workhorse of the Allied war machine. They carry everything: fuel, trucks, rations, bombs, tanks, even entire locomotives, to every front of the war. In North Africa, British troops unload crates from Liberty holds during the push toward Tunisia. In Murmansk, Soviet dockworkers in heavy coats swing open hatches and haul out ammunition. In the Pacific, Liberty ships supply island-hopping campaigns from Guadalcanal to Saipan. Wherever there's a fight, a Liberty ship has been there first. Back in the United States, Kaiser walks the length of a ship under construction. Sparks dance along the hull as welders work their seams. He runs a hand along the warm steel. He's not a naval officer, not an admiral, not a soldier, but his work has become a weapon just the same. A reporter asks him, "Mr. Kaiser, how long can you keep this pace?" Kaiser smiles, tired but proud. "As long as it takes." The workers around him, women like Rosie Taylor, black welders from the South, farmers turned shipfitters, aren't just laborers anymore. They're part of a war machine unlike anything the world has ever seen. Many of them have never seen the front lines. But the soldiers at those front lines know exactly who's keeping them alive. In 1943 alone, nearly 500 Liberty ships are delivered. By 1944 the number will climb even higher, and somewhere under the cold gray waves the wolfpacks are growing desperate. May 1943, North Atlantic. The convoy code, named ON-22, slices through the dark sea. On its flanks, Liberty ships plow through the waves in disciplined rows, stacked with crates, tanks, and fuel drums bound for Liverpool. Above, a new weapon watches over them. An escort carrier, its deck lined with Grumman Wildcats. For the first time the U-boats are being hunted, not just feared. Captain Lieutenant Franz Mayer peers through his periscope. But the sea isn't what it used to be. Radar-equipped escorts prowl the convoy perimeter. Sonar operators listen intently in dark, cramped rooms. The Liberty ships are no longer just targets. They're bait backed by overwhelming firepower and endless replacements. Meyer curses under his breath. "They've changed the game," he mutters. Moments later, a sonar ping echoes through his boat like a hammer on steel. His crew freezes. A depth charge rolls off the stern of an American destroyer above. The explosion rattles the U-boat like a toy in a child's hand. The crew scrambles, terrified. The hunter has become the hunted. Meanwhile, London, the Allied Naval Command reviews convoy statistics on a long wall of charts. The difference between 1942 and 1943 is stark. Where once the curves favored the U-boats, now they plummet. Ship losses are down. Sinkings of U-boats are skyrocketing. For every Liberty ship lost, 3 more are being launched. An intelligence officer runs a finger along the graph and exhales slowly. "We've broken their back," he says. The turning point of the Battle of the Atlantic doesn't happen in one climactic battle. It happens in thousands of quiet moments like this, when wolfpacks can't keep up, when convoys arrive intact, when ports overflow with supplies the Axis can no longer stop. Back in Richmond, Rosie Taylor finishes her shift. She leans against a steel beam, watching another Liberty ship glide down the slipway. Her gloves are singed, her arms sore. But she can't stop smiling. Somewhere out there, one of these ships is carrying food to soldiers in Sicily, or bombs to pilots over Germany, or fuel to tanks rolling through the hedgerows of France. She's never seen the front, but she knows she's helping win it. Foreman Red Donnelly joins her, taking a long sip of black coffee. "Remember when we thought one ship in 4 days was crazy?" he asks. Rosie laughs. "Now it's just another Tuesday." A Henry Kaiser walks the catwalk above them, looking out over the hundreds of workers welding and hammering beneath the bright floodlights. It's not just a shipyard anymore. It's a war engine. By the end of May 1943, the Allies officially declare the Battle of the Atlantic turning in their favor. Liberty ships, derided as ugly, dismissed as temporary, have become the backbone of Allied logistics. Their numbers are overwhelming, their presence constant, their impact undeniable. And while the war is far from over, the chokehold of the U-boats is broken. The wolfpacks have met their match, not in faster ships or bigger guns, but in an unstoppable tide of steel and human will. September 2, 1945, Tokyo Bay. The guns are silent. Allied warships, battleships, carriers, cruisers, stand like iron giants around the Missouri. But behind them, anchored farther back, are dozens of Liberty ships. Their gray hulls may lack polish, their decks may creak, but they are here at the end, just as they were at the beginning. The Liberty ships didn't win battles. They made battles winnable. In those first chaotic months after Pearl Harbor, no one imagined a civilian shipyard could become a decisive weapon. But Henry Kaiser's bold experiment, welding instead of riveting, modular construction instead of traditional builds, turned factories into force multipliers. From 1941 to 1945, over 700 Liberty ships were built, some launched in weeks, a few in less than 5 days. It was a scale of production the world had never seen. In the years to come, Liberty ships would continue to sail, hauling grain, fuel, goods, and troops long after the war ended. Some were scrapped, some converted, some quietly served into the 1970s. For many their story ended not in fire, but in quiet ports around the world. Rosie Taylor stands on the dock in Richmond, years after her last shift. The yard is quieter now, the spark's gone. She watches a Liberty ship glide out toward the Pacific, no longer carrying bombs but hope, this time for rebuilding a shattered world. A reporter interviews Henry Kaiser for a post-war magazine feature. He's older now, slower to move, but his eyes still burn bright. "We built ships," he says softly, "but what we really built was time. We gave the Allies time they didn't have." The historians will debate the great battles, the brilliant generals, the decisive moments. But the Battle of the Atlantic wasn't won by a single gunshot or admiral. It was won by workers in steel-toed boots, by factories that refused to sleep, and by a humble freighter that carried the weight of the free world on its steel back. The Liberty ship was called many things: ugly, slow, expendable. But in the end it carried something more powerful than any bomb or gun: the industrial will to win.